The air hung heavy with secrecy. A dimly lit alleyway slick with rain became my gateway. I was stepping into a world that most only whisper about, the underground market. It's a place where the lines blur between need and greed, where the forbidden is traded freely. My heart pounded with a mix of fear and adrenaline. What would I find in this hidden world? These markets exist in the shadows of our society. They thrive on secrecy and discretion. It's a world built on trust, or at least a shared understanding of the risks involved. One wrong move and everything could vanish, leaving no trace behind. The stakes are high, the danger palpable. I was here to understand the mechanics of this hidden world, to see firsthand how these markets operate, what fuels them, and the impact they have on our lives. Over the next few weeks, I would delve deeper into this rabbit hole, meeting the players, witnessing the transactions, and confronting the consequences. This is a journey into the heart of the underground economy. Underground markets, black markets, shadow markets, they go by many names. But they all share one thing in common: they operate outside the law. These are not your typical farmers markets or bustling bazaars. They are hidden networks of buyers and sellers dealing in goods and services deemed illegal or unethical. These markets can be found in the darkest corners of the internet or tucked away in plain sight. They thrive on anonymity and encryption. Buyers and sellers take on pseudonyms, their true identities shrouded in layers of digital protection. Transactions are often conducted in cash, or increasingly through cryptocurrencies, leaving no paper trail. The goods and services traded vary widely, from drugs and weapons to stolen data and counterfeit documents. If you can think of it, there's probably a black market for it. The motivation for both buyers and sellers is simple: profit. The riskier the trade, the higher the reward, but the potential consequences are equally steep. Drugs are perhaps the most well-known commodity traded on the black market. From cannabis to heroin, these substances find their way across borders and into the hands of users through sophisticated smuggling networks. The demand for these illegal substances fuels an industry worth billions, attracting criminal organizations with the resources and ruthlessness to meet it. But it's not just about drugs. The black market deals in anything and everything that can turn a profit. Counterfeit goods, from luxury watches to pharmaceuticals, flood the market, deceiving consumers and posing serious health risks. Stolen data, including credit card numbers and social security information, is bought and sold like any other commodity, leading to identity theft and financial ruin. The trade in endangered species and their parts is a particularly grim aspect of the underground market. Elephant ivory, rhino horns, and tiger bones are highly sought after in some cultures for their purported medicinal properties, fueling poaching and pushing these majestic creatures closer to extinction. The human cost of this trade is often overlooked, with poachers and traffickers operating with impunity in some of the world's poorest and most vulnerable communities. The illegal arms trade is another dark stain on the conscience of humanity. From handguns to assault rifles, weapons flow freely across borders, fueling conflict, violence, and terrorism. These weapons often end up in the hands of criminals, gangs, and militias, exacerbating instability and undermining the rule of law. The trade is driven by a complex web of factors, including political instability, poverty, and weak governance. Corrupt officials and arms dealers exploit these vulnerabilities, lining their pockets while contributing to a cycle of violence that devastates communities around the world. The consequences of the illegal arms trade are far-reaching. It fuels armed conflict, leading to death, displacement, and human suffering on a massive scale. It undermines development efforts, diverting resources away from essential services and hindering economic growth. And it poses a serious threat to global security, increasing the risk of terrorism and organized crime. Section 5. The Digital Drug Den. The internet has become a breeding ground for underground markets, particularly for the sale of drugs. The anonymity and accessibility of the dark web have made it easier than ever for buyers and sellers to connect, fueling a surge in online drug trafficking. Darknet markets operate like online shopping platforms, complete with customer reviews and vendor ratings. Buyers can purchase a wide range of drugs, from cannabis and MDMA to heroin and fentanyl, often using cryptocurrencies to mask their transactions. The rise of online drug markets has presented law enforcement with new challenges. The decentralized nature of the dark web makes it difficult to track down buyers and sellers, while encryption technologies make it harder to intercept communications and gather evidence. The global nature of these markets further complicates enforcement efforts, requiring international cooperation and coordination. Section 6. Wildlife on the black market. The illegal wildlife trade is a multi-billion-dollar industry, driven by demand for exotic pets, traditional medicine, and luxury goods. Animals are poached from their natural habitats, often in cruel and inhumane conditions, and trafficked across borders to meet the demands of a global market. The trade encompasses a wide range of species, from pangolins and tigers to parrots and reptiles. These animals are often kept in cramped and unsanitary conditions, with many dying during capture or transport. The trade not only decimates wildlife populations, but also poses risks to human health, as it can facilitate the spread of zoonotic diseases. Despite international efforts to combat the illegal wildlife trade, it continues to thrive. Corruption, weak law enforcement, and high profits continue to fuel the trade, putting immense pressure on endangered species and their habitats. Section 7. Crypto, the currency of shadows. Cryptocurrencies like Bitcoin and Ethereum have become the preferred payment method in many underground markets. Their decentralized nature, anonymity features, and lack of government oversight make them attractive to those seeking to conduct illegal transactions without detection. Transactions using cryptocurrencies are recorded on a public ledger known as a blockchain, which is accessible to anyone. However, the identities of the parties involved are encrypted, making it difficult to trace transactions back to specific individuals. While cryptocurrencies offer a degree of anonymity, they are not entirely untraceable. Law enforcement agencies are becoming increasingly sophisticated in their ability to track cryptocurrency transactions and identify those involved in illegal activities. Section 8. The human cost. The underground economy comes at a high human cost. It exploits vulnerable individuals, fuels violence and conflict, and undermines the rule of law. Behind the products and services traded on these markets are real people whose lives are devastated by this illicit trade. Trafficking victims, often women and children, are forced into labor or sexual exploitation. Drug users struggle with addiction, putting their health and well-being at risk. And communities plagued by gun violence live in fear, trapped in a cycle of poverty and despair. The human cost of the underground economy is often hidden from view, but it is a stark reminder of the real-world consequences of these illegal markets. Section 9. The long arm of the law. Law enforcement agencies around the world are engaged in a constant battle to combat the underground economy. They employ a range of tactics, from undercover operations and surveillance to financial investigations and international cooperation, to disrupt these markets and bring those involved to justice. However, the fight against the underground economy is complex and challenging. The clandestine nature of these markets, coupled with the use of encryption technologies and the global reach of the internet, makes it difficult to track down those involved and bring them to justice. Despite the challenges, law enforcement agencies are making progress. International cooperation is increasing, new technologies are being developed to combat cybercrime, and public awareness of the issue is growing. Section 10. The Neverending Game. The underground economy is a complex and ever-evolving phenomenon. As long as there is demand for illegal goods and services, and as long as there are those willing to exploit these demands for profit, these markets will continue to thrive. The fight against the underground economy is a never-ending game of cat and mouse. As law enforcement agencies develop new strategies to combat these markets, those involved in illegal activities find new ways to adapt and evade detection. Addressing the root causes of the underground economy, such as poverty, inequality, and lack of opportunity, is crucial to curbing its growth. This requires a multifaceted approach that involves governments, law enforcement agencies, civil society organizations, and individuals working together to create a more just and equitable society.